Well, it's been a real privilege to travel through the Netherlands and to see familiar faces from the meetings that we've had along the way. And I must just say a big thank you to the local KPMG team. Ank, your team in the innovation group have really made this an exciting week for us. A tiring week. Everyone has been enthused by the stimulated learnings we're getting from the organisations we meet, and very pleased with the food and the wine that we've been able to enjoy. So thank you for welcoming us in such a nice way. My job now is just to share with you a little bit of background as to what is the difference between the ecosystem here in the Netherlands and what we have down under. So a bit of context about Australia and New Zealand. And importantly, we have this wonderful group of people driving an aspiration to lead Australia to be a $100 billion industry. We are currently about a $59 billion industry. So by 2030, we've got some growth to achieve. And certainly looking outward is really important for us to be able to do that. So just a bit of context. The land mass is considerably different. It is true that Australia is 185 times bigger than the Netherlands, but it's very concerning to us that you manage to achieve exports of 3 times what we achieve. So the really dramatic statistic for me is that on average we're getting $109 per hectare of value in Australia, and you're getting $83,000 per hectare if you average it out over productive hectare. So that's 810 times more per hectare. And the difference is, for a long time we've been really focused on commodities, and we do that very, very well, and higher added value food products making it into international markets. 24% of what we produce and sell to the world is meat, whereas your leading sector is materials and technology. So the know-how is what is actually leading the export earnings. We have some other things in common. Both of us have fantastic research facilities. Wageningen has come up in every conversation we've had, in Leiden University. But you know what? We've also got some fantastic university partners that happen to be working here in the Netherlands as well. And we're looking through the course of this week to build stronger relationships with those university partners. Certainly the available land per person makes a real big difference. Not just to how much space you've got to actually produce food in the Netherlands, but the transparency, the trust that exists between the urban and rural community. And that transparency has been absolutely apparent through our tours. When we were at Kipster, as you saw, the glass bunker, Ollie, where's Ollie? I think he's coming tonight. The glass bunker where you can come in and actually see what's going on inside that productive system. That is fundamentally different to what we have in Australia. But technology is creating that linkage, and as a consequence of technology, all of our businesses are transparent, and there's been some real lessons for us on the way through that. So I think that there is a chance for Australia and New Zealand to learn a lot from the Netherlands and potentially close that gap a little bit between our export earnings, but also to collaborate a lot more. And as you'll hear from us through the course of the night, there are some real areas of interest where we'd like to do that. So how are we going to close the gap between 59 billion and 100 billion? There's a couple of key themes here that I just wanted to touch on. And certainly industry leadership and coordination is a fundamental piece to that. And what we've observed here in the Netherlands is a very strong mentality that entrepreneurs will lead the industry and government will come in behind and support that. And we're going through a bit of a pivot back in Australia where we're reassessing how we organise ourselves across the different research bodies and the role of government. And I think it's an important time for us to be on this trip to see a different way of doing things and bringing that home. But technology is fundamentally the answer that we're looking for. It's a luxury here in the Netherlands where you have a national LoRaWAN network. We don't have that luxury with our 7.6 million square kilometres. So there are different challenges to create the connectivity. But that's something we're very focused on at KPMG, both here in the Netherlands and in Australia, is trying to bring those technologies to the market. Oops. So a little bit about our ecosystem. Essentially, we have 15 research and development corporations, and Dr. Michelle Allen and I are going to talk a little bit further about that later on this evening and what their roles are. We have 40 or 41, depending on what you count, universities in our market, and 8 departments of agriculture. So as you can see, we're spoilt for choice. Our challenge is to work out who does what, so we're very clear, or can be clearer, to industry about who the specialists are. And of course, then we have our industry sets right across the supply chain. More recently, in Australia, we've collaborated to produce an initiative called Agri 4.0. And it is the Australian Austrade entity, which is our export agency, which is focused on telling the story about Australia's agtech solutions and how they can benefit the world, but also to attract co-investment and research. So I would highly recommend looking for this if you're an agtech solution provider looking to work with Australia. It really helps you understand the ecosystem. This night is brought to you by KPMG, so I will, if you can indulge me, tell you a little bit about what we're doing. A number of you may know us as auditors and tax advisors. Of course, we are those things, but we're also innovators and technology consultants. And we've seen some problems that have led us to build some new tools. We're building AI platforms that allow us to predict risk across supply chains, to help organisations decide where and when to move their produce through international markets based on geopolitical risk and financial risks, weather risks. So we're really trying to help bring complex data to our executives and our clients. So that's our enterprise digital dashboard. Our Italian firm's doing some amazing stuff with analytics across the antibiotics, so predicting disease outbreaks based on disbursement of antibiotics. And our Portuguese firm is doing some pretty incredible things using IoT-enabled vaccine delivery tools to really track exactly how much vaccine should go into an animal based on its weight and trading that history all the way through the supply chain to the retailer. In Australia, we're focused on building food assurance and using blockchain to enable that. Our ambition is to turn up on your products with a KPMG Origins label, where we take our audited, trusted brand and bring it to the consumer. Right the way through to the blockchain solutions, and more recently, we're focusing on responding to the Modern Slavery Act. Horticulture, agriculture, all around the world has real challenges around how well we treat people. So we're working on some interesting solutions there to address the compliance requirements that consumers are demanding and governments are regulating for. And lastly, we're building a platform that enables technology to reach farmers. We think there's a lot being done that helps people understand the investment flows in ag tech, but it's really important that farmers know how to find solutions to the problems they have. So we're working on developing an ag tech finder platform. And again, if you're a technology partner sitting in the room and you want to access Australia, this is going to be a really smart way of doing so, because we'll connect you with the service providers that will help you get into the markets across the states in Australia. So that's a little bit about us. I'd like to show you a piece of work that's going on back in Tasmania at the moment, linking this lovely wine production outfit in the Coal Valley to the world through some blockchain technology and AI. Fire it up, Sam. Just while Sam does that, the real reason we want to show you this is really for tourism, because it'll give you a great sense of what a hill looks like and what green land looks like, and great wine. So Pooley Wines is a family-owned vineyard. It's in its 3rd generation, and they're really challenged by what do they do with data, how do they collect it, but how do they use it in a meaningful way that tells the consumer about the pain points and trust points that they're dealing with. This slide here that is flicking up when it shouldn't be, but this is the core approach that we take as an organisation is looking at the end-to-end supply chain and identifying the pain points that exist in that supply chain and the important trust points, and looking for complementary technologies that can be brought together and linked to the blockchain, but bringing it right through to label technology so that the ultimate consumer can understand the journey of the product, but also see the certification that we will be putting on and taking off if there's non-compliance on the way through the supply chain. It looks like Mr. Pooley's not going to play for us, Amanda, so we'll have to send that round to anyone who's interested. I mentioned that we wanted to get involved more and more in the assurance of food. Our approach to this, as I mentioned, is trust points and making sure that we're finding ways with IoT devices to assure the different elements of confidence at all stages in the supply chain. Our intention here is to really disrupt the assurance market around food safety. It is a significant cost in the supply chain, and even inside your factories, this is where a lot of compliance time is spent, and it's still sample based, and that risk is too high. So we think the opportunity for digital to really transform that and bring greater confidence is a fight worth entering. In terms of our predictive AI solution, this is what's driving the predictive supply chain tool and our biosecurity predictive tool. So ultimately what we're doing is ingesting multiple data sources, including trying to bring the citizen scientist to bear, so using social media tools to really try and capture pest incursions and outbreaks. Ultimately, what we want to be able to do is help people get more confidence around not just their financial risks, but compliance, operational, and geopolitical and natural disaster challenges. The approach here is to share public and private data and make it useful in a meaningful way for what is a national need. So some of these challenges can only be done in partnership with other organisations, which is why we lean on our global alliance partners of Oracle, SAP, Thomson Reuters and others as well. So the key in today's age for agri-food is data, trusted data, and using it in a meaningful way to predict risk and, more importantly, incorporate that into business continuity strategy. So this is the plug. If you are interested in accessing our market and you do want to promote your agtech solutions to the world, start in Australia. This is a project that's been led by the Cooperative Research Centre Food Agility. The Agtech Finder platform will be live at the end of July. We've already got 190 solutions on there, and a good number of them are international. So this is a very easy way for you to reach the 225,000 farmers in Australia. And with that, Amanda, I might hand back to you. The world.